Hello, this is Mark Silverman, managing member and founder of Silverman & Associates, and I'm also a certified financial planner professional. I want to welcome you to the Saving with Silverman podcast. I'm glad you're here. Each week, we'll discuss different financial planning topics because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
Well, hello and welcome to a brand new edition and a new year of Saving with Silverman. I'm Mark Haywood, along with Mark Silverman, certified financial planner professional, serving you in Tucson and Southern Arizona. He is the founder, managing partner, or managing member of Silverman & Associates. And as always, you can check him out online at savingwithsilverman.com. That's savingwithsilverman.com. Mark, how are you as we start off 2018?
Mark, happy to be here. It's a new year. No complaints here. Excited to get this year started.
That's right. Another year, another great time to get your retirement goals in line. It's kind of that time of year anyway where people are doing resolutions and whatnot. Might as well come in for a visit, get your retirement plan in place to kick off the new year. Again, as always, if you'd like to reach out to Mark Silverman and his team, you can do so by calling 520-333-7601. Call or text 520-333-7601. Well, Mark, on today's show, I want to talk about some common mistakes that we have seen again and again being made by retirees and pre-retirees. I want you to just kind of identify some of these mistakes, why they're mistakes, and as always, how to fix them. So,
Sure.
First common mistake, considering bonds to be a safe investment. What's wrong with that?
Well, bonds are a safer investment, but they're not necessarily, doesn't mean you can't lose principal, especially when you're considering, bond mutual funds, bond ETFs, because those are going to fluctuate based on interest rates. And so, I've said this before, but for those of you that haven't heard me say this, if you're in a bond, let's say mutual fund, for example, and interest rates go up, your fund's now worth less. And the reverse is true, where if interest rates go down, now your fund might be worth more. And if they're about the same as when you purchased them, you'll basically get back what you put into it. It's different than actually owning the bond. If you own the individual bond and it matures, assuming they don't default or something like that, it's a safe bond, you'll get your money back. So they are safer than stocks, and they work well in combination with a stock portfolio for most, investors that are looking for some type of diversification, depending on your age. But it's not something that you can put money in where you can't lose money. Bonds, you can still lose money if it's in a fund.
That's right. You can still lose money. And to me, that speaks to a broader common mistake, and that is just not properly allocating the different tools in your portfolio. I mean, you need a well-diversified portfolio. And if you're, invested too heavily in anything, it may or may not be the best strategy for you. That, of course, is why we always talk about the need to have a unique plan that's specifically made for your goals. Another common investing mistake that we see people make is not protecting yourself against long-term care needs.
And that's a good point, Mark. I mean, it's really, you need some type of strategy. And there's different strategies out there. There's traditional long-term care insurance, and we've talked about that before. There's self-insuring, which is what, if you don't have that conversation, basically you're saying you're self-insuring, which means that you're going to be paying for long-term care costs out of pocket. And just so you know, you're basically looking at, if the average stay is just under 3 years and it's about $80,000 to $85,000 a year now in Tucson for a semi-private room, you're looking at about $250,000 that's going to cost you in today's dollars. Of course, that's going to be more, as time goes on. If you're going to be if you need that care in 10 years or 20 years, that's going to be a lot more. There's other ways of carrying those, and we've talked about some of those different strategies. There's some annuities that offer some long-term care protection, but I would say probably at this point in time, my favorite right now is using life insurance that has long-term care benefits. And what I mean by that is utilizing the cash value or sometimes the death benefit that you have in that life insurance policy to cover the need for long-term care insurance if you need it. So that's kind of what we've been using the most, it seems, lately, because it gives you some options, and we can talk more about that. If you have questions, feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to discuss those strategies. But I think the important thing to know is that you have a strategy, or if you or your spouse have to go in, what's going to happen? How are you going to pay for that?
That's right. Know how you're going to pay for that. We're talking about common money mistakes here on Saving with Silverman, because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life. Talking common money mistakes. Next one here, Mark. is not guarding yourself against market decline. Why is that a problem, and what can we do about it?
Well, if you're in the market, obviously you should be doing very, very well. This is the second longest bull market we've ever been in. I think we're about 10 months short from being the number one bull market we've ever had. So if we're still in the market's still growing towards the end of this year, this will be, I believe, the longest bull market we've ever been in. So with that being said, we are due for some type of decline. The question is, how much risk are you taking with your portfolio? And what tends to happen when we're in this long bull market that we've been in is greed tends to send in. People start to have a lot more risk in their portfolio than they understand that they're in. So it's just important that now's a great time to maybe look at the risk that you're taking, see where you are in relation to your goals. If you're already retired, you certainly want to get a handle on that. But if you're, let's say, 5 or 10 years away from retirement, you also want to understand how much risk you're in. If you're, 20, 30 years away from retirement, then I really wouldn't be too concerned about the market, because the fact is you have a longer time period. So, but it's understanding that and understanding the risk. We have a tool that we use here in the office where we can actually back test and show you this is how much risk you're comfortable taking after you answer some questions. Here's how much risk you currently are taking with your current investments without having to move assets or anything like that. And then we could show you that if we had another financial crisis like we had, how much risk you would, or how much money you would stand to lose, et cetera. So it's important to understand and go through that exercise. And now it's a great time as ever, especially with the new year.
All right, Mark, another common mistake is making the assumption that one particular financial tool is always good or always bad. And I know this one in particular is interesting because there are other folks on this station who make these specific recommendations, it seems.
Yeah, a lot of people are pitching products, and I know what you're talking about. I've listened to some of the other shows here on this station as well as other stations where they're specifically pitching products. Mostly it seems like annuities, and in some cases they're pitching certain mutual funds and things like that. Anybody that's recommending products to you without knowing your situation is really not helping you. They're all they're doing is selling things, where we are really focusing on planning and understanding what your goals and objectives are, and really helping you make sure that you're on track of those before we even get into all the other stuff. So just be cautious if somebody's recommending something without knowing your situation. I relate it to like a doctor, giving you a diagnosis without having done a physical, or without having asked you enough questions or done certain tests and that kind of thing. So just be prepared.
Be prepared and know what's best for you and your specific situation. And to do that, in order to do that, you have to have a plan. And it seems like so many people come in without a plan.
Most people don't have a plan. And I've had people come in who have worked with advisors for 20 plus years and they don't have a plan. And I think it's foolish to have somebody come in and say, well, these mutual funds that you have are no good. You should buy these mutual funds instead. Because the problem is, and what I've noticed through experience is, people want answers to their questions. They want to know if they're going to have enough money to retire on. If they're already retired, are they going to have enough money that's going to last them the rest of their lives? Are they covered for long-term care? Are they going to have enough for inflation and all these other different things? If they want to give money to their kids, legacy planning, all these sorts of things. That's really what they're looking for, answer to those questions, rather than just being sold, investment or insurance products. And so we really focus on making sure all of our clients have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, you need a plan. And I think everybody needs a plan and needs to go through that process, because really, if you don't have that, you're kind of just spinning your wheels and not knowing where you're going.
That's right. You need to know where you're going, how you're going to get there. And Mark, I know that you have the plan. You have the process in place to help people get there, to make goals and then accomplish those goals and put a plan in place to attain those goals. What does that process look like when somebody comes in for a visit with you and your team?
Sure, Mark. So this is a new year. I know people tend to procrastinate, but now it's a new year. What better time than now? So whether you're a first-time listener to the show or you've heard me for a long time, if anything I've said makes sense or resonates with you, this is now your chance to come in and have a conversation with me in my office to go through this process, and we call it the financial physical. I can assure you, I will not be trying to sell you investment or insurance products. I repeat, this is not a sales meeting. Rather, we're going to discuss your values and goals in a way, honestly, you probably never have. This consultation is designed for both individuals as well as couples. However, if you are married, it is mandatory that both spouses attend this initial meeting. So whether you're still working or already retired, this is a great opportunity to see what it looks like to work with someone who's actually required to have a fiduciary responsibility to look out for your best interest at all times. And as part of the financial physical, we will discuss your cash reserves, debt if you have any, insurance, all types, and how to best allocate your assets. And we'll even benchmark where you are now financially compared to where you want to be. so you have an even better perspective of what's required to achieve your goals for the reasons that are important to you. This will become the foundation for developing a plan that gives you the highest probability of making that happen. This meeting will be valuable to you whether or not we decide to work together. There is no cost or obligation for this initial appointment. However, it is best suited for people who have saved at least $250,000. And as you probably are aware, I am a certified financial planner professional, and I believe the only one locally here on the radio in Tucson. And the going hourly rate to meet with a CFP such as myself can cost as much as $300 an hour. So this is a tremendous value and chance to finally get your financial house in order and keep it that way. And your only commitment is an hour or so of your time. We try our best to help everyone. However, our slots do fill up quickly. So I can only guarantee a complimentary meeting for the next 5 people that contact us right now. Please don't procrastinate, because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
That number to call to get in touch with Mark Silverman and the team at Silverman & Associates is 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. You can call or text 520-333-7601. And Mark, like you said, now is the time here at the beginning of the year to come in and get that financial physical. You do a once-a-year doctor visit. Why not do a once-a-year financial checkup? Get the financial physical by calling or texting 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. You're listening to Saving with Silverman.
You finished school and worked hard to get your first job. You told yourself you'd save for retirement, but that old jalopy you bought when you were 16 broke down, so you bought a new one. You started to save, and soon you bought your first home. Then came pets, kids, and your world changed some more. You worked hard to provide for your family. You made sure your kids got a good education. You might be sending them to school right now, or maybe it's the grandkids' turn. And of course, you're now making sure your parents are looked after. Through the years you lovingly sacrificed for your family, now it's time to take care of you. Love others well by taking care of yourself. Keep listening to Saving with Silverman to discover how to build a financial plan that'll continue providing for you and the ones you love for years to come.
You're listening to Saving with Silverman. I'm Mark Haywood, as always, joined by Mark Silverman, certified financial planner professional, managing member of Silverman & Associates, serving you in Tucson and Southern Arizona. As always, you can check him out online at savingwithsilverman.com. That's savingwithsilverman.com. Or, easier way to get in touch, call or text 520-333-7601. It's 520-333-7601. Mark, I want to talk a little bit about stuff that doesn't work. It seems like we hear all these strategies and gimmicks and just different investing strategies, but they don't really work, even though some folks and financial advisors believe in them. If you're listening to this right now, you may even have heard some of these strategies and believe in them yourself. And so, Mark, I just kind of want to go through them, and you tell us why they don't work and maybe what you should do instead.
Okay.
The first one being timing the market.
Yeah, that's impossible. I mean, I think most people realize that anybody that says they can accurately predict when the market's going up and down on a consistent basis, you probably want to run from that person or that firm. It's impossible. Nobody has a crystal ball. There's no silver bullet. You know, there have been people that have predicted when the market was going to go down, but then a lot of those people still have been not invested in the market. And so you miss out on that, on the whole upside. So anybody that says they can do it's like picking lottery numbers. You can't consistently do it. You might get lucky once in a lifetime, but that's about it. So anybody that says they can time the market is not somebody you probably want to be working with.
So timing the market, probably not the best strategy you can employ. What about stock picking? I mean, that's something people do as well.
Yeah, we outsource all of that. So we use institutions where they are going to be doing that for us rather than trying to pick a stock, the hot stock tip and that sort of thing. That's not something we do. I think that fad kind of went out a long time ago. There are some people that still do that. I would stay away from that. You want to be in the right asset allocation. I think that's more important than picking the right stock. So again, If you're going with somebody that's a stock picker, they're probably a stock broker where they're trying to sell you something. And chances are that's probably not the place you want to be. You want somebody that's going to be more of a wealth manager, a financial planner, if you will, that's going to look at the whole picture rather than trying to just sell you a hot stock tip.
Yeah, that's right. I think there's something to both of those 2 points, timing the market, picking the right stocks. It's something that if you've got the extra cash lying around or the time to sit there and go for it. I mean, if you don't mind losing that money, but it's just not something that you want to make a part of your more comprehensive plan.
Right. I mean, there's a difference between investing and gambling.
That's right.
If you're going to throw some money into, and I'll just throw it out there, Bitcoin or something like that, one of the cryptocurrencies, if you want to throw some money into it and if that money goes to zero and you're okay with it, that's fine. But that's different than putting your whole nest egg into something and hoping you're going to double it in a year's time or something like that. So just be careful when it comes to that stuff.
That's right. I know at your firm that, your tagline is because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life. And that kind of gets at that idea of making a more well thought out plan altogether.
Exactly. It's not like you're going to take your retirement and go to Vegas and, and put it on black or red and then have hit green.
That's right. You can.
Totally unlucky. You can, but your family members might not be too happy with that decision.
That's right.
So.
That's right. Oh, man, we digress. This is Saving with Silverman. We're talking about strategies that don't work. Certainly, gambling with your retirement is one of those strategies. And while you think we may mean going to Vegas, you might be doing that right now if you're trying to time the market or picking stocks. It really is all about a more comprehensive plan and setting attainable goals and giving purpose to your money. Another strategy that doesn't work, just stuff that doesn't work, deciding that you'll just take care of each other so neither of you has to go to a nursing home.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one. I've had this discussion many times with people, and that sounds great in theory. But the question is, do you have the training? Do you have the capacity? Do you have the knowledge to take care of your spouse if something were to happen? Are you a doctor, for example? Do you have all the right type of equipment and the medicines and all this sort of thing in your home to take care of somebody? The fact of the matter is you probably don't. And unfortunately, when people have to go into a nursing home, it's not a choice, but you really do have to go in. It's not whether somebody has the ability to take care of another person. So, you need a different plan than just saying, I'll take care of you or you take care of me if something were to happen. That's not a good strategy long term.
That's right. And this next one kind of goes hand in hand in that a little bit, and that is guessing how long you'll live based on your parents' or grandparents' lifespans. That's just not really how it works.
It's not reality, and we all know that each generation is living longer than the next. So when we do financial plans for people, I can tell you we're running those out to people, usually in the 90s, and in some cases we'll run them out to age 100. So the question is, you want to make sure that your money's going to last longer than your life. And for most people, they haven't thought about that well enough, or they don't have a plan and they don't really know. And their advisors don't know if they haven't done a plan for them. They don't really know that either. Maybe they're giving the best advice that they can, but if they haven't run the numbers and taken everything into consideration, then they really can't answer those questions. So it's important that you have a plan. I can tell you, if you don't, then I've never had an issue where somebody has more money than they thought they were going to have and that being a problem. But I can tell you that if you have less money or you run out of money before your life does, that's going to be a big problem. And you don't want to be a burden to your children. So it's important that you've done your homework and done everything possible to make sure that you've put you and your spouse in the best financial position that you can and have a well thought out plan.
That's right, Mark. And I know this time of year especially is the perfect time to come in and get the financial physical that you offer at Silverman and Associates. I mean, this is the time of year where you're starting to look at your taxes, you're working on your health. Perhaps you've made that resolution to go into the gym or get back into the doctor. Why not take the time to come in and get the financial physical with Mark Silverman and the team at Silverman and Associates? Mark, tell us a little bit about what that looks like, how that process works.
Sure, Mark. And just like you said, if not now, when? I mean, everybody likes to procrastinate, but now's the start of a new year. So now's as good a time as ever. Just like you said, you're collecting data for taxes coming up here in the next couple of months. So this is a great time. So just like you get a second opinion on your health, why wouldn't you get a second opinion on your wealth? So whether you do it yourself or already working with someone, this is now your opportunity to come in and go through this process we call the financial physical. Do you know what your investments are costing you? If you're still working, are you on track to have the type of retirement you've always envisioned? Or if you're already retired, do you know if you or your spouse are at risk of running out of money while trying to maintain your current lifestyle? I can assure you, I will not be trying to sell you investment or insurance products. I repeat, this is not a sales meeting. In this initial meeting, We'll address issues of importance to you, provide an overall view of your situation, and give you some general advice on what needs to be completed. This consultation is designed for both individuals as well as couples. However, if you are married, it is mandatory that both spouses attend this initial meeting. So whether you're still working or already retired, this is a great opportunity to see what it looks like to work with someone who is actually required to have a fiduciary responsibility to look out for your best interest at all times. This meeting will be valuable to you whether or not we decide to work together. There is no cost or obligation for this initial appointment. However, it is best suited for people who have saved at least $250,000. As you probably are aware, I am a certified financial planner professional, and I believe the only one locally here on the radio in Tucson. And the going hourly rate to meet with a CFP such as myself can cost as much as $300 an hour. So this is a tremendous value and chance to finally get your financial house in order and keep it that way. And your only commitment is an hour or so of your time. Just as you want to reach a healthy life from a physical standpoint, you also want to reach and maintain great financial health. So our financial physical is just what the doctor ordered. We try our best to help everyone. However, our slots do fill up quickly. So I can only guarantee a complimentary meeting for the next 5 people that contact us right now. Please don't procrastinate because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
That's right. Don't delay. Call now or text 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. Now is the perfect time of year to come in and get that financial physical. Find out where you're standing in your financial plan. Find out what tweaking needs to be made. Maybe you don't have a plan at all and it's time that you get one. Either way, the time to do it is now. Get that financial physical and do it by calling or texting 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. You're listening to Saving with Silverman.
You've got questions. We've got answers. Keep listening to Saving with Silverman.
You're listening to Saving with Silverman. I'm Mark Haywood, joined by Mark Silverman, and we've reached the portion of the show we like to call Story Time. Mark, as always, I just want to hear from you about a client that you've worked with and helped in a particular situation. Tell us about a time when you met with someone who wasn't really a great fit for you as a client, but you simply gave them some basic help and then sent them on their way.
Sure. And I try to help everybody that I can. Let me just put it that way. We do have asset minimums because it's just me as far as I have support people, but I'm the only advisor, which means that if I can't service somebody the way that they need to be serviced and the way I feel they should be serviced, I can't take them on as a client. And so that's the important thing. So I can't take on every single person I meet with, but I will do my best to point them in the right direction, whether it's to another advisor that might be better suited for them, or, some people are just getting started off and they don't really need an advisor. Maybe I send them to a discount brokerage place where they can give them some guidance and get them started and starting saving that way, rather than sending them to another advisor that's going to charge them or sell them a product that they don't need. So I will do my best to give the right advice, because that's really what it comes down to. We are financial advisors, and the word advisor is in there rather than financial salespeople. But unfortunately, a lot of people in this industry are there just to sell products, churning and burning, and it's unfortunate. But I will do my best to help everybody that I come in contact with and give them the right advice, whether that means becoming a client with us, or if they're not a right fit, directing them to another avenue that's going to be better suited for them.
Yeah, I think that's important to highlight. I mean, of course, on this show, you make no secret that you want to advertise your business and your services. You're really good at what you do, but at the same time, it's kind of a two-way street. You have to be a good fit for each other, and you have all this knowledge, but that doesn't matter if it's not the right fit for the person who you're working with and their needs.
It's a relationship business. So just as clients can determine if they want a relationship with us, we also have the benefit of choosing if we want a relationship with them. And I can tell you, just because people have millions of dollars doesn't mean they're going to be a right fit for us. We want to work with people that really see the value in what we do, that we know we can help. Like I said, it's a relationship. And so that's why it takes a process to determine if we're going to be a good fit for each other. And so we don't try to have somebody come in and try to sell them something on the first meeting. That's not what we do. We focus on planning, and there's a process, and it takes several meetings before somebody even becomes a client. And so it's important that we make sure that we're doing our due diligence, just as clients need to do their due diligence on us to make sure that we're going to be a benefit for them as well.
That's right. We talk about that initial meeting, that financial physical. We'll talk about that later as well here on the show. But that's just that idea that you come in. It really is just a getting to know you meeting, learning a little bit more about your situation and your goals, and then seeing if Mark is going to be able to help you achieve them along the road. And if so, then that's great, and you can follow up from there. And if not, then there are other advisors in town who he can point you to and steer you in the right direction. But it really is about achieving your goals and finding the right fit for you and your needs. As always, Mark would love to help you do that. Have a complimentary meeting. You can do that by calling or texting 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. This has been Storytime, and we've got more financial talk on the way on Saving with Silverman.
Picture this. Your financial statements have come in the mail. What's going through your head as you open them up? Maybe all that financial jargon is flustering. Maybe the numbers are confusing, or maybe those red arrows are leaving you in a funk. Don't base your future on a monthly letter. Keep listening to Saving with Silverman. Learn what true financial planning really looks like.
You're listening to Saving with Silverman. I'm Mark Haywood alongside Mark Silverman, certified financial planner professional serving you at Silverman and Associates there in Tucson and Southern Arizona. You can check him out, as always, on savingwithsilverman.com. That's savingwithsilverman.com. And you can call or text at 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. Call or text that number because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life. Again, that's 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. All right, Mark, I want to bring another Mark into the mix. 3 Marks in one show. Can we do it?
We can try.
Maybe it'll get a little confusing. We'll try to keep ourselves separated. But let's bring Mark Twain into the mix. I want to learn a little bit from his wisdom. He's, of course, just this incredibly famous literary figure in American history, folklore, and he said some things that I think we could apply to our finances. One of those sayings being, apparently there is nothing that cannot happen today. What in the world does that mean, and how does it apply to our finances?
I think the point that he's trying to make is what were to happen if we were to have another downturn. And not to beat this again, but as I said earlier, this is the second longest bull market that we've ever had. And so, how would you be impacted if we had a correction? And again, I'm not here to scare you. I'm just trying to be realistic. So if we had a correction this year or next year, I wouldn't be surprised because we are due. With that being said, I don't have a crystal ball either. So it's just maybe now's a good time to just really look at the risks that you're taking and seeing if it matches your risk preference, your risk tolerance, and then that risk is also going to keep you on track for your goals is the other thing. And so that's why it's important that this is a great time, especially beginning of the year, just to kind of revisit these sorts of things so you don't get caught up like, a lot of people did in 2008.
All right, Mark, I love this next quote, and it's just comical. It's the lack of money is the root of all evil. The lack of money being the important thing there.
Well, I think the important thing is, money can't buy happiness. We know this, and I've seen it. I've seen people with a lot of money that aren't happy, and I've seen people with a little bit of money that are happy. So, money can't buy happiness, but what money can provide is some safety and some protections, and it's a lot easier with money than it is without in some cases. So, making sure that you're doing everything financially responsible, being financially independent, I think is a good thing. And again, like I said earlier, not saying that money can buy happiness, but it's a lot easier when you do have the funds there and the money coming in on a monthly basis. So you do have the income that you need to pay for your bills.
That's right. Money is a great tool. It's not the main goal. At the same time, it is one of your main goals in retirement, just making sure that you have enough, an important asset to have, and make sure that you're using properly. All right, another great quote from Mark Twain. Suppose you were an idiot. Not sure who he's talking to there. Suppose you were an idiot, and suppose you were a member of Congress. But I repeat myself.
I would say this probably has to do with, maybe tax law changes, which are probably top of mind for a lot of people right now. Who knows what's going to really happen? I think you have to base things on what's going on right now. You can't try to predict what's going to happen in the future, but making the best decisions, and this is true all the time, making the best decisions you can with the information that you have available right now, and not trying to worry about what's going to happen next year, the year after. Focus on what your goals and your objectives are. And like I said, make the best decisions based on the information that we already have.
That's right. It's important to make decisions knowing what you already have, and you can do that. You can set goals that are attainable regardless of what happens in Congress and Washington, D.C., but you got to have a plan in place to do that. I know, Mark, that's something that you specialize in. We'll get to that a little bit later on, but as always, if you want to call in or text with your questions about retirement, you can do so. Call or text 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. We are talking about the wit and wisdom of Mark Twain here on Saving with Silverman. Mark, this next quote, October, or in our case, January, is one of the particularly dangerous months for speculating in stocks. The others, of course, are July, January, September, April, November, May, March, June, December, August, and February. What is he getting at?
I think that covers the whole year. I didn't count, but as if that was 12 months there. But yeah, I think the point of the matter is, the market could go down at any time, especially as I said earlier, this is the second longest bull market we've been in. So with that being said, just make sure you're protected. If you're taking risks, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Just be clear on how much risk you are exposing yourself to. And again, it's going to depend on where you are in your situation. Are you already in retirement? Are you a few years away from retirement, or are you many years away from retirement? That makes a difference. And are you on track for your goals? And are you saving enough and doing those sorts of things? Everybody should be making money in this market. It's hard not to. And if you're not making money in this market, certainly give us a call, because you're missing out on a lot that we've had going on here. And so I think it's important that you understand that the market correction can come at any time. You really need to focus on, again, your situation rather than what somebody might be telling you is going to happen in the future.
That's right. What's the old Warren Buffett quote that when the water goes down, you find out who's been swimming naked? I think that kind of applies here to the market. It's easy to make money right now while it's doing so well, but once it does inevitably hit correction at some point, that's kind of when you find out how well prepared you are financially. But that's something that you can accomplish. You can be well prepared financially.
You can. And I mean, it comes down to just making sure you're protected and making sure you understand the risks that you're taking. And everybody has risks in their portfolio. You just need to know what those are and how much exposure you have to those. And again, you don't want to be caught like a lot of people were in 2008. That's all I'm saying.
That's right. Be well prepared when the time comes. All right, this next one is kind of a sombering thought. He says, how unfortunate a thing it is for a man to have wealth and for him to make a god of it instead of a servant.
I think, achieving a certain net worth, I think that's what it comes down to. A lot of people say I need $1 million saved in my retirement so I could retire. The question is, it really depends on what age you're retiring, what's your life expectancy, how much you're spending in retirement, what's kind of lifestyle. I can tell you a lot of people we do plans for, if you're retiring in your 60s, you need a lot more than $1 million that's going to get you through, 30, maybe even 40 years of retirement. You probably need several $1 million. So, being set on a certain number, I think can get you in a lot of trouble, because maybe that number will do well for you. Maybe that number won't be enough for you. It just depends. And everybody's situation's different. Everybody has their own magic number, because everybody's situation's different.
Everybody's situation's different. That is such a good point. It really depends on your unique goals, what you're trying to achieve in retirement. Are you trying to travel the world or stick around town? Are you trying to leave a legacy for the grandkids or have that last check bounce when you die? It just depends on your specific situation and what you're trying to accomplish. Okay, I think this last quote is paramount to what we've been talking about in today's show and what we talk about each week here on the show. And he says, the other Mark Twain, he says, the secret to getting ahead is getting started. I think that's imperative. Why is that?
Well, the number one thing that we seem to battle here is procrastination with a lot of people. If you're listening to this show, obviously that we're discussing things that have some type of importance to you. The question is whether you do something about it or not, whether you call us or call somebody else or call your advisor. The key is you want to get started on this. You want to make sure you're doing everything possible to benefit you and your family, to make sure you're doing all the right things. And the first step is just getting started. I can't tell you how many people said, well, I've listened to you for years. I'm finally glad I called. I should have called called you 2 years ago. Well, the question is, you've called now, at least you've done something now rather than waiting another 2 years. So getting started is usually the hard part. We cover a lot of general information, but nothing happens, as you know, Mark, until people make that call and see how this information applies to you, because we can't get specific. So just getting started and making that phone call, getting on the calendar is a great first step.
That's right. The first step is calling or texting 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. Just like when you want to schedule a visit with the doctor and kind of get started on a new health regimen, you kind of need to assess your situation. That's what we're talking about here with your finances, a financial physical. You can do that by coming in with Mark Silverman and the team. And Mark, when you do, what happens?
So, sure, Mark. So whether you're a first-time listener to the show or you've heard me for a long time, if anything I've said makes sense or resonates with you, this is now your opportunity to come in and have a conversation with me in my office. I don't pawn you off on somebody else, to go through this process, and we like to call it the financial physical. I can assure you, I will not be trying to sell you investment or insurance products. I repeat, this is not a sales meeting. This is far different than a lot of the other shows on this station where they're just trying to sell you a product when you first come in. Rather, we're going to discuss your values and goals in a way, honestly, you probably never have. This consultation is designed for both individuals as well as couples. However, if you are married, it is mandatory that both spouses attend this initial meeting. So whether you're still working or already retired, this is a great opportunity to see what it looks like to work with someone who's actually required to have a fiduciary responsibility to look out for your best interest at all times. And I can tell you, if you're working with somebody from the bank, a brokerage firm, a wirehouse, an insurance salesperson, they do not have a fiduciary responsibility on all of your money. And as part of the financial physical, we will discuss your cash reserves, debt if you have any, insurance, all types, and how to best allocate your assets. And we'll even benchmark where you are now financially compared to where you want to be, so you have an even better perspective of what's required to achieve your goals for the reasons that are important to you. This will become the foundation for developing a plan that gives you the highest probability of making that happen. This meeting will be valuable to you whether or not we decide to work together. There is no cost or obligation for this initial appointment. However, it is best suited for people who have saved at least $250,000. And as you probably are aware, I am a certified financial planner professional, and I believe the only one locally here on the radio in Tucson. And the going hourly rate to meet with a CFP such as myself can cost as much as $300 an hour. So this is a tremendous value and chance to finally get your financial house in order and keep it that way. And your only commitment is an hour or so of your time. We do try our best to help everyone. However, our slots do fill up quickly. So I can only guarantee a complimentary meeting to the next 5 people that contact us right now. Please don't procrastinate, because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
That's right. Don't delay. Call or text 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. Come in for a visit with Mark Silverman and the team at Silverman and Associates. Get that financial physical. Start out down the path towards a more secure retirement. You can attain your goals in retirement. You can set goals, give purpose to your money. Come in and get that financial physical. Call or text 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. Here we are, a week into January. Time moves quickly. The time to call is right now. Call or text 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. You're listening to Saving with Silverman.
It's time to get to know Mark Silverman just a little bit better here on Saving with Silverman.
Well, you heard the line. It's getting to know you time here on Saving with Silverman. Mark, outside of your family, who is someone that's had a significant impact on your life?
Well, I've had a lot of people in my life, especially in business, and I've had coaches in business and just so many different people. I don't even know who to even name at this point, but I've had certainly family members, which I believe you said outside of my, is it immediate family? But I've had lots of people that have guided me in this industry. I've had mentors, and I probably have to say I started in this business right out of college, went to U of A and started in this business and had a mentor where I worked at the first firm I worked for which is a brokerage firm, and I won't name names, but a firm that I worked at right out of college that hired me. And I spent several years there and worked under another advisor who's actually still in the business. I believe he's going to be retiring in the next couple of years, but he's still in the industry, and he taught me a lot about the business. The business has evolved since that time, but he gave me a lot of great knowledge coming out of college, and I'm forever grateful.
It's cool. It's good to be able to look back and recognize the people who've made a significant impact on your life, and to thank those people. And also, I think it's a challenge as well, because you never know how you're impacting different people in your life. I always had a teacher in high school, I'll never forget, who said to love, forgive, and be a blessing. And that's something that I try to do with my friends and family. And I just think that's important to keep in mind, because you're interacting with so many people each day, and you never know who you might be having an impact on as well.
Exactly. You always have to be cautious of what you say or do. That's for sure.
Well, there you have it. Mark looks up to former influence in life, another advisor in the business. This has been Getting to Know You. More financial talk on the way with Saving with Silverman.
When you reflect on your life, what would you like to see as your fondest memories? Summers at your favorite vacation spot? Ice cream with the grandkids after their first t-ball game? Maybe it was your great adventure across the world or volunteering with a local nonprofit. Of course, those memories are still in the future, although they're not as far away as you might think. Be sure you have a financial plan to make them happen. Don't find yourself worrying while enjoying that ice cream. Peace of mind is attainable in your retirement. With the proper planning, you can secure a meaningful retirement. At Silverman & Associates, we can help you make those dreams a reality. Schedule your visit with our team today. Call or text 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. We want to make memories with you. Get started by calling or texting 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601.
Do you ever feel like you need Superman to help you with your financial crisis?
I've got you.
You've got me! Who's got you?
Well, we're not superheroes, but we can save the day when it comes to your finances. Keep listening to Saving with Silverman.
You're listening to Saving with Silverman. I'm Mark Haywood. He's Mark Silverman, certified financial planner professional at Silverman & Associates, serving you in Tucson and Southern Arizona. Check him out online at savingwithsilverman.com. That's savingwithsilverman.com. And you can, as always, call or text 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. Get in touch with the team at Silverman & Associates. Mark, we've come to the part of the show where we love to take your listener questions. It's the request line. First question comes in today from Emily in Vail. Emily says, it appears that I'm now able to contribute more to my 401k this year than I was allowed to last year. Is it safe to assume that I should go ahead and put in the extra amount?
Absolutely, Emily. That's a great question. As long as you can afford to put more in, the more you have in your retirement, the better off you're going to be. Like I probably said earlier, I believe I've never had anybody complain that they had too much money in retirement, but we've had people that wish they would have saved more. So the more you can put in, the better. And for those of you that are listening, if you're eligible, contribute as much as you possibly can to your account. If you're putting in, let's say 5%, bump it to 7%, give it a few months. If all the bills are still getting paid, bump it to 9%. Just keep going until you could max it out. If you get in the habit of saving and starting to put away more into it, you probably won't miss it. So the more you can put in, the better off you're going to be in the long run.
Thanks for that question, Emily. The next one comes to us from Buddy and Marana. Buddy says, I have several $1,000s of company stock that I'd like to cash in to make a down payment on some land where I'll eventually build a vacation home. Is there any reason that I shouldn't do that?
No, I mean, the only thing you want to think about, Buddy, and thanks for the question, is really understand the tax consequences. So if you do have company stock, make sure that if they are restricted or not restricted, if they're not restricted and you're able to sell those, what's the cost basis? How's that going to impact it? You probably want to check with your CPA or a qualified tax person to make sure that you understand the tax consequences of doing that. But other than that, it's probably not a bad thing to do if you want to diversify, if you're planning on building anyways, but you maybe want to keep some of the company stock if it's doing well. But, again, if you have a purpose for that money and it's something you want to do it. My only caveat again would be, make sure you check into the tax consequences of doing that.
Thanks, Buddy and Emily, for your questions. And finally, here on the request line, we have a question from Miles in Saddlebrook. Miles says, I've worked with a couple of different financial advisors over the years, and I like them both. Do I need to pick just one or the other, or is it okay to work with a couple of different people?
Miles, that's a great question. We've had this question, I think, in different forms over the years. I'm a big believer in working with just one advisor. In fact, if I've had situations where somebody will come in and they want to work with two of us, I won't even take on that relationship. One, I have a fiduciary responsibility, and two, it's not in the client's best interest. So that's the big thing for me. It's like going to, let's say you're not feeling well, Miles, and let's say you go to two different doctors and let them both treat you, but you don't tell the other doctor what the other doctor has done. Maybe they've both given you the same prescription or different prescriptions that are going to compete with each other, and that's going to cause you even more issues. The same thing is true here. It's like asking us to watch your kids, but they're not in our backyard. We can't do that. So we can't do a good job if we're not managing all of the assets. So we won't even look to take on those relationships. And I understand that it makes sense. If you have $2 million to maybe give $1 million to one advisor and $1 million to the other and see which one does a better job. The question becomes is who does a better job? It's hard to say, but you're going to be basing it on performance. And if one's taking more risk than the other and the market's up, then the one with more risk is doing a better job. If the market's down that given year, then the one that's taking more risk is not doing a better job. You want somebody that's going to take the appropriate amount of risk for your situation that's going to keep you on track for your financial goals. That's as simple as that. And so, again, we won't take on those type of relationships. So my guess is to work with someone who's not going to tie you into products that have, surrender charges and things like that. You're free to go whenever you can. But do your vetting, make sure that they're qualified. I would go with a CFP. Of course, I'm a little biased there because I am a CFP, but in our industry, that's probably the best thing that you can do is work with a CFP because they have the ethics and the training. But go with a CFP, in my opinion, make sure that you're comfortable with them, that they're accessible to you, and pick one. And then if that's not working, you can make a change later on down the road. So great question, but that's my take on it.
I like that, Mark. And we thank you, Emily, Buddy, and Miles, for your questions on the request line this week. And Mark, we talk all the time about the financial physical on this show. What is that, and what's it look like if you come in to get one?
Sure, Mark. So, we've answered some great questions, and I want to thank everybody that's reached out with those questions. If you want to submit your questions, you can just go to our website, which is savingwithsilverman.com, and go to radio, and then you could submit a question. Maybe you'll hear your question on the air. But now's my chance to ask you a question. And can you answer it honestly and objectively as possible? Aside from the happy hellos and how's the family, and aside from the occasional lunch or golf game, I get it. I'm as much friends with so many of my clients. They become true friends over the many years. But I think the question has to be asked, especially in light of the stakes. Is your current financial advisor truly adding value beyond a doubt? And I'm going to repeat. Is your current financial advisor truly adding value? It's a valid question, as a friendship or just relationship allows you not to be in a position to ask those critical questions. Are you talking about taxes? Are you talking about Social Security and income and risk and diversification and insurance and estate planning and healthcare? Are you having those annual reviews? But hopefully it's more frequently than that. Is there detailed follow-up? Is there accountability? If you are, if all of that is happening, congratulations, because you've got a great relationship, and send your financial advisor a thank you. But if you're not having that, if you're not feeling the value, if you're not having these in-depth conversations, then you owe it to yourself and really to your family to have a conversation with someone else, because if you don't, you're the one that's going to suffer. You're the one that's going to pay the cost, and it'll cost you in more ways than you'll ever know. Let us prove to you how we can help your money go further in retirement. Let us show you with our financial physical. I believe you'll be surprised at what you'll learn, and this won't cost you anything. Give us a call or send us a text to 520-333-7601, 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601, or check us out online at savingwithsilverman.com. That's savingwithsilverman.com. Please don't procrastinate, because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
Get the financial physical with the team at Silverman & Associates. Do so by calling or texting 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. Now's a great time of the year to come in, find out where you stand financially, what goals you have, and how you need to go about accomplishing them in 2018. So come in for a visit with the team. Get the financial physical. Do that by calling or texting 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. Well, Mark, as always, we thank you for being on the show this week.
Mark, I'm always happy to be here. I want to wish everybody a happy new year, and thank you for taking the time to listen. And if we can be of any help, please let us know.
That's right. One more time, call or text 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week right back here on Saving with Silverman. Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC is a registered investment advisor. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities product, service, or investment strategy. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Be sure to first consult with a qualified advisor, tax professional, or attorney before implementing any strategy or recommendation discussed herein.